Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sybil, and I can't wait for you to hear all of the Great Girlfriend magic on today's show. So without further ado, grab something great to drink, grab your pen and your paper, and get ready for this week's episode. Enjoy.
Hey y'all, I'm Falyn.
And I'm Mom. We are the co-founders of Keep Your Kookee.
We are a mother-daughter duo. We talk about everything from the Bible to masturbation.
Oh, and orgasms.
And everything in between.
Oh my goodness. But our focus is to elevate the conversation amongst women, but particularly mothers and daughters, because this relationship is fundamental. It establishes the foundation for connections, for relationships. We believe and pray also for lifelong marriages. And it's really an important foundation as we pour into the next generation of women. So we really encourage women to tell it all.
But it's more about, we encourage mothers to share with their daughters.
Yes.
And to have a level of openness and vulnerability and transparency. And we like to say candid conversations about your truths, your regrets, your wants,
all the
your
things,
desires, everything in between.
All the things. So we want moms to tell it all. Tell all of your learnings, your maybe even some secrets, some regrets. But our goal is that our daughters don't repeat some of the same mistakes that we made because they are equipped with the insights and information from our experiences.
Exactly. And also that the daughters now have a safe place to have conversations with their mothers, and not just having your girlfriends be the people that are leading you and the blind leading the blind, because it should be that the next generation gets better and better and better.
Yes, because y'all talking to each other is a hot mess. We already know that. We've been there. We know this, moms. We already know this. So that's the fun part about it. I want to also give a shout out to Sybil.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for allowing Keep Your Kookee to have a takeover of the Great Girlfriends podcast.
And we want to answer one of many, but a very important question that Sybil asked us. Can mothers and daughters be girlfriends?
Yes, so let's talk about it. Let's start with that one. And you know, when Sybil asked this question, I thought about it for a good little while. And I guess my answer is yes and no. So,
and it's a little bit more.
Yes. I don't want to narrow this relationship, the mother-daughter relationship. It is so complex. It is so beautifully layered, right? So there are moments when you are girlfriends, when you kiki, when you squeal, when you share the tea.
There's that, and there's moments when we can't stand each other and we're going back and forth as, you know, I would say maybe that's a woman thing. If you have sisters, you fight back and forth.
No, and there are moments when I'm mama, right? And so when I need to give some direction explicitly, where, you know, the way in which she has been raised, right? There are moments of respect. There are moments to honor what I'm saying or my direction. So there are moments when I'm just straight up mom, right? And when she was younger, I mean, obviously, so.
But there's a transition.
There's a transition. Falyn is an adult.
From being a child.
Yes.
And having a close child-parent relationship.
Yes.
To an adult child and having a parent-adult child relationship.
Yes.
That's a little different.
That was a lot to say. You did well. You got it out.
It's a little different.
No, it's true. It's true.
And, you know, I think ultimately we are wanting my generation and your daughters who are going through situationships and dating experiences and looking for a potential partner for marriage and what that looks like. These conversations, in some moments, they're girlfriends. In other moments,
they're not. They're not. So back to that question of, can mothers and daughters be girlfriends? We would say yes and.
Yes.
Sometimes no, right? And so it's all of those things. And I think actually the world tries to narrow and put mothers and daughters in a box, right? So it's either command and control, right? The way in which I raised you.
Yeah.
You represent the hopes and dreams that I have for myself, the things that I may or may not have been able to accomplish for myself.
But I think in some ways too, they also put mothers and daughters against each other. And then in some ways, there's a level of secrecy. There's a level of things that daughters don't share with their mothers. There's a level of things that mothers don't share with their daughters. And we are wanting to break that.
Yeah, and that's, and it's really important that we emphasize the two-way dialogue, right? Because the fact of when I started and I said, moms, we have to tell it all, right? And so that level of openness about the things that I have experienced, not only just the good things, not only just the things that I want her to emulate, but the things that I want her to miss, right? That I don't want her to repeat. And so I want her to hear it straight from me.
Whether that's in T form or not, all of those things need to be said. And so that is maybe the role that people assume a girlfriend would play, where you're sharing the fun things as well as the things that are not necessarily that nice to talk about. But we want that to also be in the safe space of your mother and daughter, because there's no other relationship like this that has as many complexities, I would argue, unless it's marriage.
But speaking of marriage, right, because it also sets the foundation for the longevity and all of the different emotions and layers that you will experience in probably the only other, maybe with a sister or with a brother, right, with a sibling, but it's the only other relationship that you're going to experience that will have that level of ups and downs, but this long-lasting connective tissue, right? And so your first place to practice is with your mother, right? Like between a mother and a daughter, you have painful moments, you have disappointments. Sometimes moms have to say, I'm sorry, I messed that up. Other times moms need to grab you by your pigtails and pull you off to the side and sit you down and say, look at here, okay?
But it's a full-bodied relationship.
All the things.
It's not only certain parts. It's not I only show you only parts of myself and my friends know the rest, or the person I'm dating knows only a portion of me, but you know the majority of me. This is a full-bodied 360-degree relationship.
And that can be tricky, moms, right? Because you want your daughters to feel proud of you. You want them to emulate the best of you. And so sometimes, right, sometimes you may be hesitant to share the shiggity, right? You have to share the dirt. You have to share, for example, Falyn knows my body count. Falyn knows when I have been in some precarious situations.
When you were dating.
Where I was dating, times where I've almost been raped, date raped, times when, you know, I have been in very precarious situations.
When you had your first love.
When I had my first heartbreak.
Lessons you learned throughout dating experiences.
All kinds of
things
stuff.
that you learned as a result of maybe what your friends went through when you guys were all in college or figuring things out. We have all those levels of conversations, and by proxy of that, because I have that dynamic with you, my friends then see our relationship and we talk about what we talk about. And so by proxy, in some ways, you're like their pseudo mom, because they then learn from what I've learned from. And we want that to not be such an anomaly where it's my friends only feeling like, wow, your mom shares stuff. We want this to be mom's share. And what does your mom teach you that now I get to know because I'm your friend?
So listen, I have to do a public service announcement right now. I don't care if you are married, if you are divorced, if you have never been married, if you are a single mother, if you don't have any children. It does not matter. We all have something to share, to pour into the next generation of young women coming up, to help them learn from all of our, my favorite word is shiggity, learn from all of our shiggity so that they can be better, so that they can have greater successes. And for us, we're defining successes also with lifelong, committed, loving, God-centered relationships, both in friendships and in marriage. That is the goal. That is the goal. And so, you know, you have to become comfortable in sharing and being vulnerable and transparent in order for this next generation to have and benefit from everything that we can pour into them. So I really want to just come against any shame, no shade ever, right? Because no matter what your situation is, no matter what your hopes and dreams are, right? You may still be aspiring to be in a loving relationship or to be married.
Has to be talked about.
Yes.
It needs to be talked about.
Let's talk about it.
Present.
Let's share it all.
Whether that's your past, whether that's your future, all of those things you have to share in totality.
Yes.
And maybe it's in segments because maybe that's a long conversation that you're not really comfortable having.
Oh, and it should be in segments. Actually, that's the best thing, right? Like multiple times. And one of the things that we talk about is this generation. I actually think this is one of the first generations that has the privilege to choose marriage and partners separate from financial stability.
More from a place of love and compatibility, connection.
Right. And is he the one that God sent for you? Not is he the one that I need to hook myself to for my livelihood, right? Because, you know,
we have our own coin, we have our own careers, we are financially independent, and we know what we are looking for. Exactly.
Grandma and them, you know, they were married for 50 years, and in many cases, not because grandma was happy or if she could choose it, that she would have still been there. So many in my generation have been raised to have options, to have careers, such that, you know, during those periods of difficulty with your husband or with your partner, you could make different choices because the generations before us didn't feel like they had those options. Yes. But we want to have these conversations
and not do things out of fear.
Yes, and still enable lifelong, committed, God-anchored marriages. So it's called Keep Your Kookee for a reason, because we also talk a lot about sex. We talk a lot about sex. We talk a lot about sex, and that's okay.
And if that's an uncomfortable conversation that you have with your mother, I think that's okay. But you also need to start. And
you can start at any time, really. Like, no matter what the state of your current relationship is. Matter of fact, you can go take this clip, and go find your mama. And sit and ask your mother to share with you a story about her dating life in the past.
And give each other grace. And be okay.
Because mama might be shocked. She might be shocked.
She might be okay laughing about it. Be okay crying about it.
Yeah.
Be okay actually sharing your truth as the daughter, as the mother, all of it.
And mamas, be free with it, right? Let's tell it.
You gotta give us tea. You have to give us the real information about what was happening, what your mindset was, what you were wearing, what he was wearing. We need details, okay? We in this moment.
This is a girlfriend moment. This is a girlfriend moment.
Or your girlfriend.
Yes.
We need details.
It's true.
And then we can break it down. You can say, now listen, as your mother, if this was you, I would want you to do X, Y, and Z.
But tell the truth.
What I did was this.
But tell the truth.
And this is the outcome.
Tell the truth.
And it was a good old time, or it wasn't.
Or it wasn't
a good old time.
Because usually what we thought was going to be a good time, or what seemed like a good idea, and we ended up dealing with a whole bunch of mess and bozos.
But through those conversations, then your daughter, through her own situations, can avoid situationships, can avoid toxic relationships because she sees the patterns because you've had those conversations.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of the premise. That's a really important premise of Keep Your Kookee. Another thing to think about, and you and I had this, well, we haven't had this as much, but when you get comfortable lying to your mama, when you get good at not telling the truth to your mama, guess what? It also becomes easy for you to lie to yourself. So the importance of this relationship sets the foundation for so many relationships.
And avoiding a whole lot of mess. Now listen, we're still going to go through things because life, and we're going to have our own experiences.
Yeah.
And
although we really would like to try to have them not have to go through it, but it doesn't work that way.
But you can't
it doesn't work that way. I know.
You can't smother us because then a lot of times you smother us and then it's like, okay, sure. And then you're not around and then they do the complete opposite versus us knowing your experiences, your past, and using it as an armor and a shield to say, I know what I want, what I'm looking for. And if I don't know, I can decipher and figure things out for what I'm going through right now, and I'm going to be okay. And if not, I can call you and be like, hey, do you remember that guy that you did when you were in college and X, Y, and Z happened? Or right after you graduated, X, Y, and Z happened, and now I think I'm having a similar situation. We have those conversations. We have things to pull from. If I see a Facebook request from somebody that she used to date, I can say, oh, that's so funny. Why are you trying to become my friend?
Well, and here's the other thing. Here's another thing, is that it also, what we hope and pray is that it helps this next generation of young women be comfortable standing in their truth.
Yes.
Right? And so part of a lot of why divorces are happening. Did you know 70% of divorces are initiated by women? 70%. And so in the midst of the dynamics with men and husbands, we get to a place where then we've had enough. We've had it and we're done and we're out, right? But
you can speak from experience because you are 28 years in.
Yes. Praise the Lord. Yes. Yes. But we talk about it, right? So yes, her father and I have been married for 28 years. I would say 12 of those years were crap, were extremely tough. Her father likes to say, and I agree, that we were fighting towards each other, but it was a lot of fighting, right? It was a lot of trying to figure it out, figure our way, find our way.
Standing in your truth.
As husband and wife. But I do think one of the things that allowed us to get to this point was standing in my truth. And, I work full time. I'm I've had success in my field. And so I've had accomplishments in my work life that I think helped to equip me to be able to have fewer inhibitions about articulating what I needed, right, from your father and in our marriage. That didn't mean I did it well all the time. That didn't mean I didn't do it. I did it without emotion
but we've had those conversations. We've talked about those things.
Yeah.
And so your hopes for me when I get married about what those look like for myself when I'm in a low valley of a marriage, because you're going to have those points of how you communicate what you want, what you need, what you're missing, what you want your future to look like, and how do you plan for that.
Because then when you get to the highs, the peaks, right? It does get better later. It is greater later. And it can be good all the way along. And so we really do think that the power of this conversation for this generation is so incredibly important, perhaps more important than at any other time, because women are working, women have financial stability, right? And we are trying to still have life partners, God-centered marriages.
But
who's teaching us how to be wives?
No.
Right? Who?
But that should be
who's having that conversation? That should be your mama. That should be your mama. Right? And one of the best teachers is experience. And so let's tell it all.
There's no shame in it.
Let's tell it all.
That's why there's no shame in it.
Nope, got to tell it all.
And we need the good, we need the bad, we need the ugly.
Yes.
We don't need just the half truths about how everything was rosy and sunshines and rainbows and now there's elephants dancing. We don't need that. What we need is the real stuff.
Yes.
The dirt.
Yes.
That you've said at times was uncomfortable and things that you didn't think would matter for me.
Like what?
The fact that how much you've openly shared about your struggles, about when you were in a low point with dad, when you were in a low point of trying to figure out something, when you were in a dating situation. Those in the past, you've been like, I'm surprised by how much you remember those situations. You're surprised by how much that impacted what my actions were in the future.
Yeah, what we've always tried to do was, or what I tried to do with Falyn as she was coming up, was to leverage organic, authentic moments to then share information. So we never really had the talk about tampons or when she got her period, or
we had the talk because there was something that was on
a commercial TV, or in a movie,
and we talk about it then and what you would use, what you wouldn't use, what it is.
It was just more matter of fact, right? It was organic, it was free. Even the sex talk, believe it or not, right? Like there was no moment.
I have no memory of like sit down, let's have the conversation.
And so conversation, talking has been a big part of our dynamic from the beginning. But I'm going to tell you, it's interesting because when I think back to my own mother, my own mother, who I'm very close with, who I love dearly, but we didn't have like deep conversations. I don't think their generation was set up or even encouraged to have these types of conversations. Through, they were in survival mode, particularly women of color, right? But I would dare say, when you look back and, it was 1972 when we as women could purchase a home without a man, okay? So, our mothers and grandmothers were fighting their own fight and in many ways surviving. And doing the best
in silence.
And doing the best that they could. So, and compartmentalizing a lot of things. So it hasn't been conditioned to have these types of conversations, right? To be open. And then when you did get something, you held on to it. You held on to it, or you wanted to make it seem like, you had it together and you knew what to do, even when you didn't. Right. And listen, we've all done some fake it till you make it. Right. And nothing wrong with fake it till you make it.
But that's why this is a lifelong relationship. And as your life evolves, as my life evolves, we will continue to evolve in our dynamic of what we talk about, what we go through, how I rely on you, what questions we talk about, what we debate about, what we argue about. All those things are different, but we're ultimately wanting to equip myself and other daughters and other moms to have these conversations that continue into the next generation, that then we are creating generations to come who are having candid conversations with their daughters about relationships and marriage.
Women, we do a lot of, I'll use the word contorting in many ways, right? And so in relationships, I think for women in a loving way, but to have your own voice, to be clear and be able to express what you need.
Whether you're sassy, whether you're quiet.
Oh yeah, you can be sassy with it. You can be, your own way, whatever that is.
Whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm definitely sassy. I mean, I'm personally sassy. You're a little less sassy
I'm a little quieter.
Right? Yeah, you're a little less sassy, but I'm definitely.
I have moments. It's a little.
Yeah, no, I'm full throttle. I'm all the way. I'm a fire sign. It is what it is.
Yeah, I'm
but
an earth sign, so
exactly. Yeah, all fire over here. All fire, all fire. So, But where that comes into play is then for women, when we talk about standing in your truth and being able to do that in a way that still, though, cultivates and affirms your partner, right, your husband, that allows you to share and express what you need, because you also you've become accustomed to that. And the place where you became accustomed to that is in the relationship with your mother. Surprisingly, not necessarily in the relationship with your father, because there's an important stat that talks about, you know, the success of a child is actually anchored in the health and mental well-being of the mother. So let's think about it. And we didn't even know that. That stat came across in the last few weeks, right? And but it totally makes sense. And we are here for that.
Because it's complex.
It is complex. But listen, your mama knows you. Nobody loves you like your mama. I don't care how healthy your relationship is or is not. I want to keep coming back to that, because all it takes is a spark. You can go and start talking to your mom or asking questions, and she might be a little taken aback, but she will likely share very quickly, or she might have to think about it, and then she might come back to you and say, you know, you asked me that question, right?
But I think this is where we also have to say, this is from a place of love. This is a safe space. And if it hasn't been, then as of today, we are creating this space to be a safe place.
Absolutely.
So there's trust, there's love,
absolutely,
there's grace.
Yes.
Grace that we may make mistakes.
Yes.
Grace that we're gonna argue. We're gonna fight.
For sure.
We're gonna laugh about some things.
We get on each other's nerves sometimes.
We have similar mannerisms, but we're actually pretty...
No, she does like her father. She is just like her father.
But he's opposite to you.
Correct.
So, you know.
So you're like your father.
But with your mannerisms. So that's the whole...
Yes.
You guys both are like,
yes.
Why you made that face? It's okay.
Yeah. So that's the power of Keep Your Kookee. Now, the title Keep Your Kookee is connected to, we appreciate the power that sex plays in relationships. And so when the flesh gets involved, not only is it hard to communicate, it's hard to see, right? Because sex does what it's supposed to do.
And
which is to bind and blind a man and a woman in the covenant of marriage. But you are bound together and you are blinded because you all up in that thing and y'all are connected physically. So we really encourage, I definitely, encourage and Falyn on her own to not have sex before marriage, because it clouds your judgment. You have a whole lifetime to have freaky, amazing, fantastic sex. Because we are not clutching pearls over here. Okay, we are not. I am
waiting till marriage.
Yes, but she cute, right? She cute. We not over here trying to be all like prudish and no. And when it's time, right? Like it's time.
And those are also conversations that.
Yes, and we go there too. Absolutely,
with your mom, in all the complexities.
I'm gonna be swinging from the chandeliers when it's time. Okay, when it's time, but it's not time. It's not time. It's not time.
Yeah, everything in between.
Yes.
And we've talked about it all, from people that I've dated in the past, my college boyfriend when I missed the flight, and you.
Yes, that same college boyfriend who she. Can I say that?
Have we said that?
I don't know. Did we say that?
I don't think we've said it. So no, we're not going to say it.
No? Okay.
No. But we did some things.
They did some things, okay?
We did some things.
They did a whole lot of things.
And I missed a flight. And
to come see me and her best friend for spring break.
Yeah, well, I wasn't coming to see you. I was coming for spring break. And then by proxy, you ended up having to
you love this word proxy today. However, okay?
you ended up having to be my best friend's
okay, so her and her best friend were spending spring break at my place. Okay,
that is still not the point.
So you just said you were not coming to see me. You were coming to see me.
I was coming for spring break. That's not the point. The point of what we're talking about, we're getting sidetracked. The point of this whole thing was talking about the power of flesh and how there are some things that maybe as a daughter you would like to not talk about with your mom or avoid talking about, which is what I thought I was going to do with the situation. Yeah.
But it came out.
It did come out.
It came out.
Because I don't miss flights. That's one.
No. And I was like, is everything okay?
And I don't remember what I said. I said something really stupid. And you were like, okay.
Yeah, I was like, is there anything else you would like to share with me?
And at first I was like, no.
And then I was like, are you sure?
And then I had to give her something because she wasn't going to let it go. But I think ultimately what this situation, I would say, shows is that because we have a foundation where we talk about a lot of things, it was more uncomfortable trying to lie to you about the situation versus just saying what happened. And when I did tell you what happened, we busted out laughing. We've probably never screamed louder in our lives.
But I knew it, right? I knew it. I was like, okay, there it is. I was like, there it is. Now, right? Right? Because listen, there's nothing that she has gone through that I have not already experienced at least 3 times, you know? So.
And it's not embarrassing.
No.
Maybe a little awkward.
Well.
But it shouldn't be embarrassing.
Yeah.
Because we're living
funny.
life.
Yeah. It was funny. It was hilarious.
I mean,
actually.
I was mortified for a second and then you were mortified for a second.
I was not mortified. Well, I was
not mortified.
Yeah, not mortified, but I was
surprised.
Yeah.
And then
some things, all the things that were going on.
When you do have these conversations, then you can talk in code with your mom. All these things that happen, and we said a little bit and a lot at the same time.
Yep. It's true. It's true. But it's all good things, right? It's really good things. It's so powerful when this relationship is dynamic and strong, but you are in it together. So we really want to start a mother-daughter movement. Yeah. Please join the Keep Your Kookee mother-daughter movement. So go take this clip and go find your mama. And mamas, be free. Tell a good one.
Tell it all.
Good one.
And maybe pour a glass of wine.
Oh, that's good. Or some hot chocolate if you don't drink. Right? It's all good. Whatever works. Right? And then if you're a mom and you have small children, start early. Just opening up the lines of communication. Maybe take away the phone, take away the tablet.
And have some good old
have a kiki.
Yeah.
Have a good kiki.
Yeah.
So we hope that you will join us in this mother-daughter movement. We are appreciative of this takeover of the Great Girlfriends podcast. Sybil, we love you. Thank you so much.
And I guess you could answer below or in the comments whether or not you think that mothers and daughters can be girlfriends.
Yes.
It's a yes and for us.
It is a yes and. So, until next time,
we like to say,
keep your cookie in the cookie jar.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao.
All right, great girlfriends. Did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast and the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group at The Great Girlfriends, follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends, and on Twitter at _greatGFS. I'm Sybil Amuti, and I'm out. Peace.